is the year of the Kraken. Our heroes return from the frosty winter to the sea. Have a game under the warmth of the Hearthstone. StarLadder I-League StarSeries Finals. Having slain countless opponents to reach this point, Chinese players Xixuai and Aichoro shall join the masters of the game Xixo, Naiman, Hoi, Jabba, Dr. Hippie, Stansifska in Shanghai for a shot at taking the throne. From the highest-ranking ladder players to the hidden dark horses, who shall reign supreme? Conquer 4, 5, ban 1, double elimination. Will the champion once again remain in China, or shall a new victor emerge? July 8th to the 10th. Start from 10 a.m. Shanghai, China. Come and witness the tournament of the century.
All right, welcome back, everyone. There's StarLadder and I-League StarSeries Season 2. I'm Noxious, and with me is Farbet, the glorious Farbet. We're going to be casting Xixo versus Xieshuai, which is a matchup we've seen before. They both came out of the same Group A during the group stage that we had over the past 2 days. So just to recap a little bit, we're down to top 4 of the event. This is going to be the last day where we have the grand finals at the end of the day. We're casting winner's match, at least the first one. Whoever loses this is not quite out, as they'll get to face off against the winner of the next match, which is going to oppose Dr. Hippie versus Naiman. So there's still a chance for whoever loses this one to get out of it. So far, would you say your predictions are coming true, Farabat?
So far, I picked either Stansifka or Xieshuai to go to the distance and win the whole thing. I couldn't pick Xixo just because I was talking to Xixo at the time, and I had to go against his prediction, and his prediction was obviously himself. So
sure.
I think so far, yeah, Xixuai's doing it for me. He's pulling the weight.
He's doing it for you?
Yeah, he's doing it for me. He's pulling the weight that Stansifka couldn't pull for me in the prediction. So I'm hoping he goes the distance, but I can't say he's favored in the matchup just because we look at the match history, day one, Xixo versus Xieshuai happened, and Xixo won quite convincingly.
Yeah.
So
is the zoo.
Yeah, so I'd have to assume that Xixo would likely be favored to take the matchup just because he won last time. But maybe Xieshuai has some different, change in the ban or something differently as he knows. Now he knows Xixo's decks. Right. And Xixo knows Xieshuai's decks also. So it's going to be a little bit more of the information is on even grounds, and maybe that could lend an advantage to one player or the other. I know in that series, Xixo banned Xieshuai's Warlock.
Shaman was banned from 6-0, which is interesting because suddenly mid-range Shaman has been revealed earlier, which is not something we thought would come up.
Maybe Xieshuai is not going to be banning the Shaman just because it's mid-range Shaman, and maybe Xixo is not going to be banning the Warlock because it's Reno Lock. So even though we've already seen this matchup played out, it could be completely different now because they had both banned decks that they thought were different decks last time.
So with the metagame being what it is. It's there's a lot of, I guess, differences between the type of deck that can show up with the class. Like you see Warrior, there's like 4 types of Warriors. 3 of them are mostly played
if
than
not
the other
more.
ones. So, yeah, it depends. If you include like the whole Arcanite, Replay, Blood Cell, Cultist, Upgrade, Control Warrior,
why not?
that's a thing.
Wait, Control Warrior? You mean aggro?
Well, no, it's the one where you actually play Control Warrior with Reaper and upgrades. Purple and you, I hear we're playing that to troll people.
Oh, yeah, tempo-oriented control.
The Tempo Control Pirate Warrior.
Tempo Control Pirate Hybrid Warrior? Yeah.
That was a great deck. It got you to rank 25, I hear. It was a great run. That being said, there's a lot of decks, just to put it that way. So it's interesting to see so many classes actually have more than one archetype to their name. And even within the same archetype, something like Tempo Mage has seen a ton of variants where you have the ones that include Archmage Antonidas, some of those that play double Kabbalist Tome.
Some play one, some play none.
None, it's actually a huge difference in the way you play the deck.
There's like 10 to 12 different card changes among all of the different Tempo Mage lists that we've seen in this tournament alone. It's actually pretty crazy the amount of variants that all the players have with Tempo Mage, and part of it's region-based as well. You see the Western players oftentimes not favoring the Ice Block and the 2 Kabbalist Tomes, and then all of the Chinese players have stuck with the Ice Block and both Kabbalist Tomes in there ever since Lovely Juke was able to take the EU versus CN and win the Ferrari on the back of a stellar performance of the Tempo Mage. So, yeah.
I mean, I kind of like the fact that China seems to always be playing Ice Block in one of their tempo mages at some point. It's like a long time ago we were laughing because Chinese mage came up on the ladder in NA a long time ago, and then Ice Block was in that list, and it just burned you down from 30 with even Kobold Geomancers.
And everyone saw the Ice Block and were like, this isn't a tempo card. Why is this in tempo mage?
And then you die. And then you understand that all of a sudden they kind of hijack tempo to become a burn deck. So it's really cool to see all those archetypes kind of being tweaked. The biggest surprise for me was Xixo Zoo list, including the return of the Young Priestess, which we saw do a lot of work, at least in the last match against the Shaman, which is really interesting because it's a hyper-aggressive list. It runs Lance Carriers of all cards, and the return of all those weird, not even the return, Lance Carrier it never existed.
Yeah,
and all
never
of it, it's not even a return, it's like the arrival of the Lance Carrier. Like the advent of all those cards coming up is really nice to see. I don't know how Xixo feels about the Zoo list, but it's been working for him.
Yeah, I talked to him about it before the tournament started. I was like playing with him a little bit, not a lot, and then the Zoo came up, and I was like, "Are you sure that this is really better than normal Zoo?" And he was like, haven't played too many games with it, but I've been crushing with it, so... and it's warranted a ban here. So
looks like it. Yeah,
it's definitely a strong deck, and it's been putting up some good numbers here. And Xixo stays true to his original ban from the first series that he played against Xieshuai. And now, even though he knows that it's a Reno lock, he continues to just ban the Warlock. It worked for him last time, so I guess the theory is it'll probably work again.
Theory though, but the mid-range Shaman, how does it fare against Reno lock? How bad is it that you?
Well, Reno lock's gone.
Yeah, sure, but like, why choose to keep it up? Like, does it really fare that well against Xixo's entire lineup? I mean, the mage, it's kind of a coin flip, but maybe a more minion-heavy mage like that of Xixo is a bit more difficult to win with. The warrior gets farmed completely by the Reno lock, which might be why Xixo is kind of worried, because he knows his warrior is not going to get banned. Ergo, the Reno lock probably finds one or two good matchups.
Yeah, honestly, the way Xixo's lineup's positioned here is like the only deck that has like a super polarized matchup would be Warrior against Reno Lock. All the other ones, his decks, generally speaking, have a pretty good shot to get a win. So just banning out the Reno Lock, making sure that he can never get the unfortunate Q order of having, Xieshuai's Reno Lock lineup against his Warrior and get a free win. He's removed that from the equation and feels like the overall strength of his lineup on average can just muscle out Xieshuai.
And now Xixo is playing his Cthulhu Warrior with the top end containing Deathwing, which is something that's kind of cool to see, because you'd expect Deathwing to not show up as much. Yeah, Dragon Warrior plays it. Even Cthulhu Warriors sometimes top off their curve with it. Even Onyxia showing up in some lists.
It's great against a lot of these tempo decks, so it makes a lot of sense in the meta. All of the decks currently in Hearthstone, for the most part, that are standard meta decks, are all about dumping that hand, playing everything onto the table, and when you got nothing left, Deathwing can get you. Yeah.
It's one of those cards that tends to not be punished by too much at the moment. I mean, the hard removal is not going to be found in Aggro Shaman. Won't see it in Druid. Maybe mulches it, but it's kind of too late.
Yeah, it's too late. All your board's gone already.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, Xixo does pick up the Fiery War Axe. Xieshuai has the bow. Not a very explosive start for Xieshuai, and he's going to have to grind out the match given the way that Cthulhu Warrior plays out. You want to be getting on the board a bit faster than he's been.
Yeah, but typically speaking, Hunter is one of those decks that can still have a slow start and win this matchup. It's got the ability to, get some super sticky minions down that the Warrior has a hard time removing. It gets down those high mains and then just transitions into those Call of Wilds. Does so much damage so fast with such a strong board presence that's so difficult to remove. And that's why it's, generally speaking, pretty heavily mid-range Hunter favored in this matchup. But looking at this start, Xixo's had all of the answers to the slow starts from the Hunter opponent.
Yeah, so Xieshuai here is looking to be taking off that Ghoul just because it sets up kind of like a little bit of better removal here against the Axe. If the Wolf gets popped, then suddenly second Ghoul would mean everything blows up anyway. And if the 1/1 straight up, it's good. If Fire Bat dies, then it's good as well. He's also curving into the high main. The only tricky spot for Xieshuai, I think, is when the Brawl becomes good. Like, how good is it against him? Assuming there's one in Xixo's hand.
Well, right now, we're looking at Xieshuai's face.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing it for you, so you tell me now.
He's still doing it. No. I like the play here by Xixo, developing that Doomsayer, just, popping the Death Rattle, trying to set up for the Doomsayer to go off. It only really gets punished by, like, Deadly Shot, and even then you're not too sad when your 2-drop eats a 3-mana removal spell. So.
And more importantly, turn 6 gets spent being used and not playing Call the Wild. Yeah, I mean,
holy smokes.
Let's Call the Wild.
He had the option for Deadly Shot, though.
So. But, I mean, saving 2 1/1s even at the cost of losing your second Call the Wild.
Sure.
And never finding it.
Yeah. You definitely want both Call of the Wilds in this matchup, but he also had to give up a high main in that tracking, though, so that tracking really hurt him. He now no longer has 2 high mains in his deck. He only has 1 high main in his hand and 0 high mains remaining in the deck. So
inconveniently playing off curve, but he does find the 2-drop to kind of weave in an extra hero power on this turn because he wanted to play high main and suddenly Justicar quick shot was demanded. And
the hero powers are pretty relevant considering Xixo doesn't have Cthulhu active, right? He's only played the Cthulhu's Chosen, so he still needs to find another Cthulhu activator before he can really begin gaining all of the life in the world, so it's going to be a little slow start here. This damage from the hero power could start stacking up, especially with 2 Call of the Wilds rocking in there.
I was going to say, I think the first Call of the Wild's already good enough. The second one is almost a nail in the coffin there. Yeah. If Xixo doesn't pick up a Brawl, because he's at 8 mana, Deathwing's not even remotely close to being usable. At this point, you just push.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No trades here.
This is insane.
All into the face. If you trade there, it actually makes Brawl better for Xixo.
A ton.
Yeah, you're just removing damage immediately. So.
Oh, my goodness. This is a nightmare for Xixo.
Yeah, that might just be it. He needs to draw off this Acolyte and find something going for him.
And so far, it's not impossible that he finds something he likes, but the Doomsayer is not. Yeah, that is. I mean, you could always Acolyte, and Disciple, but it's not going to work.
He's going to hope there's no second Call of the Wild or Kill Command or Quick Shot or second Bow or anything that kills him here.
But he does clean up a lot of the board and then armor up. So, I mean, he's at 12. Yes, granted, there is 6 on board, too, from hero power. So he's on 4 effective. Dodge the Huffer. Dodge everything.
Needs to dodge Huffer, double Kill Command, Call of the Wild, and he did not successfully dodge those cards as Call of the Wild number 2 comes out.
What a crazy misplay there by Xixo, not dodging Call of the Wild number 2.
What? Yeah, I mean, it's just the fault of his hand there. He's got both 10 drops in his hand.
No,
and then his Cthulhu's not active. He's got the Ancient Shield Bearer. He's got Gore Howl, which isn't great with such a slow start. It's so many high-costing cards coming so fast. Even though Xieshuai didn't have the greatest start in the world, Xixo didn't have the greatest start either. And when both decks don't really have that great of a start and don't really have that much going for him, the deck that runs 2 Call of the Wilds has an advantage.
Yeah, one of the big deals, too, is the fact that I feel like Cthulhu Warriors got that interesting niche where right now they're cutting the second copy of Beckoner of Evil, which means they've got less activators for Cthulhu. Statistically, they're still going to get it off by the time they get to turn 7 if they mulligan for it. But in this case, it was a very slow start. Like, the first one that came up was on turn 4 with the Cthulhu's Chosen. Turn 3, I think, on the coin. And with no follow-up with that, I mean, it's just Doomsayer went off, still no Shieldbearer active. Otherwise, you're happy to play a 6/6 that gets you 10 health. And usually that gets him to turn 10, where suddenly the Tides turn and suddenly the Hunter loses. So, I don't know. I feel kind of bad.
I mean, that's just really how the Cthulhu Warrior versus Hunter matchup goes, though. You can't really fault him by any means there. It's a pretty one-sided matchup, all things considered. And Xieshuai wasn't any slouch with the late-game draws there. It's really hard to beat Call of the Wild into Call of the Wild with any deck, especially a slow control deck.
Didn't even need High Main this game, though. Like
for sure. Call of the Wild is straight up one of the strongest cards in the game currently.
I think it might be my contender for the best card in the set overall. Like, even in post-rotation or in the next set.
I'm not even talking set. I'm talking the whole game. Yeah.
As a standalone playable card, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
What competes with Call of the Wild, man? It's like Call of the Wild or Innervate. That's a tough call.
Yeah. I guess you're right. Innervate is a 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop, 6-drop, all the way up to 8.
Yeah, you can even play it with Yogg on like
10.
10, yeah. Hero Power Innervate Yogg.
Sure, why not? Get an extra spell in there.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see the Warrior from Xieshuai being queued up here against the Cthulhu Warrior from Xixo. Now, Dragon Warrior against Cthulhu Warrior.
I'd say it's pretty close.
Okay,
but
really? That much?
I think Xixo has kind of teched his deck maybe to deal with this a little bit better. I think the greedier Cthulhu Warriors that still run, Emperor Thaurissan and then the whole Brand Doomcaller package and try to make the 3 Cthulhu's, they have a lot more top end and cards that are less great against the mid-range minions of the Dragon Warrior or the aggressive playstyle of the Dragon Warrior, so that can kind of cost him. But Xixo sort of tooled his deck out to be a little bit better in these kind of aggressive, mid-rangey, grindy matchups by removing some of those cards and instead replacing them with things like Doomsayer.
Yeah, so Xixo here has the opportunity to get, or try to get, the Brand Bronzebeard uncontested to just queue up something like a Disciple of Cthulhu to kill almost pretty much any 3-drop.
Any 3-drop
there's nothing
from Xieshuai. So I think it is definitely the play here to coin out this Brand. Xixo agrees with you. Yeah, just sets up to remove the minions from Xieshuai very cleanly. You can see his face. He's like, ah, crap.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the Fandral Staghelm like problem where if you don't have the removal on curve to kill the Brand Bronzebeard, you don't know what's coming. You've got a really good idea of what it is in that deck, but it's still very scary.
Whenever you can't kill Brand from Cthulhu Warrior, it feels really bad.
And just like that.
And just like that, that's probably the swing that's really just going to spiral this game out of control in Xixo's favor, especially with another Disciple of Cthulhu to follow it up. It is going to be really tough for the Dragon Warrior to come back in this game. Like, that's just such a huge swing. The Cthulhu's already active. And
Execute's good.
Growing bigger. It's going to be tough.
Man, and this is not what Xieshuai was looking for. Now, he does have the option of going for Ravaging Ghoul plus the Blood Iker just to set up more, I guess. Whoa.
A little bit of a misordering there. Makes himself a little bit more vulnerable. There's no Battle Rage in Dragon Warrior, so there's no reason to have the 2-2 take the extra damage there.
I'm trying to figure out what the sequencing...
Yeah,
I think he's smiling and realizing he made a misplay. That face indicates, well, China is going to rip me a new one. That's kind of what they do to their players.
Yeah, just a slight ordering. He's probably a little bit tilted by the fact that he couldn't kill Bran, and that's basically what lost him the game. I know I get frustrated when I can't kill Bran and just lose the game, or when I just can't kill Fandral on curve and just lose the game. So
can't kill Emperor.
Can't kill Emperor, just lose the game. all of these minions where if you don't kill them immediately, you just lose the game.
Yeah.
Those are never fun, so...
Interesting. Chose not to play the Disciple just because it's also a ton more resilient. I mean, you do get the double buff on Cthulhu, but more importantly, what he wants to do here is make sure that he's not just putting down a 2-1 on the board. Even though it does kill the Ghoul and you clean up everything, a 2-1 is very weak.
Yeah, and the 4-2 also threatens the natural turn 5 play, which is the Azure Drake. Or if it's a Blackwing Corruptor, at least it forces the trade with the Ghoul, so... Yeah, I like the play from Xixo. He doesn't need to milk too much more value out of the Brand. It's already done its job.
All right, so Xixo here's got the opportunity to play the Acolyte of Pain and kill the Drake if he wants to. But one of the things that's interesting is it's trying to set up for a good Ghoul plus Disciple on 6, but on the flip side, it's likely just going to die to the Ghoul. So do you ever favor a play like
I like
Ravaging?
Harrison Jones.
Okay, just for tempo.
Yeah, just tempo Harrison Jones. I don't think removing the weapon is that relevant, as I like just to keep my options for like double 3 plays open for the following turn and be a little bit more flexible with them, and I don't know.
I mean, I don't mind Disciple straight up, and you still set up the Execute for pure tempo gain where you get 2 minions on board.
All right.
Yeah.
The tempo Execute. I don't mind it either.
Yeah.
Tempo Execute's all right. The only reason I get scared of using Execute against Dragon Warriors is because they do have a lot of big minions in their deck, but... You know,
you're right. It's really scary because they play a ton of threats, especially the greedier ones will play like up to 4 threats in the top end. So you will need those Executes at some point. But, I mean, you've got Sylvanas that can get you out of a bit of trouble. You've got Cthulhu in hand now. The draw was picked up.
There you go.
And suddenly, who cares about Execute?
Who cares?
Who cares?
He's got board control. He's drawing cards. And he's got his Ancient Shield Bearer for 10 life the following turn. Xixo's sitting pretty here. And I feel like this is one of the main targets of his Cthulhu Warrior deck is to target Dragon Warrior. That's why he's built it the way he's built it. That's why there's the Deathwing in there, why he's removed some of these top-end threats that aren't so impactful in the matchup. So,
yeah. Well, what's really cool about Deathwing, by the way, is, you know, sometimes you'll play Doomcaller to get another Cthulhu to replay Cthulhu. Very often, though, like that's staggered over 2 turns, whereas it's a lot easier to just get Deathwing on the board right away, another impactful 10-drop, as opposed to staggering like an 8 into 10. It only kind of works against a very, very greedy list. So, really like that choice from Xixo tech-wise.
Sure. Now here, he's got the ability to, you know, play the Ancient Shield Bearer if he wanted to play it out. He also has the ability to just shield block and shield slam and remove the Azure Drake if he feels that's more impactful. I feel like against Dragon Warrior, the spell power isn't too relevant, so I more view Drake as like a 4/4 body, so I don't mind leaving it up and going with an alternative play of, you know, either the Sylvanas or the Ancient Shield Bearer. You choose to go with the Sylvanas here.
I mean, one of the cool things that this does here is if it forces removal, then that means the opponent's only on 7, which means he can't play either of his big drops. Most of them are going to be 8 with Ragnaros and Grom. So Malkarok is really the only thing left that could possibly come out. In this case, it's there, but most of the time that works out.
Definitely. That must be what was going through Xixo's mind when he was setting up, and he's not even afraid of Malkarok because he has the Harrison Jones.
Yeah.
So he's like forcing it to be the only bomb you can play as Malkarok, and then if you play Malkarok, I got the Jones for it, so I don't even care. And so yeah, pretty tight play there by Xixo.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got board control. Xixuai is not running any AoE kills in his deck. Like, it's not as though Dragon Warrior is packing any brawls whatsoever. It's a lot more like the Tempo Warrior, just trying to pose threats, but feels like they've been dismantled. In fact, he's been the one on the back foot all game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's been behind on tempo the whole game, which isn't normally the place you are with the Dragon Warrior deck.
Oh, man. Hyper aggression. Let's just ignore this board. I can't win for tempo. I can't win for value. I'm done.
Well, sometimes Rag carries if your opponent can't find a way to answer it, but that's not the case here, as Xixo has been saving the shield slam for a problem like Ragnaros, and he's going to be able to just pop it off there and take the trades.
Yeah,
Full board control, card advantage, board advantage, health advantage. Seems good, man.
Yeah, I feel like right now Xieshuai is going to be playing from behind all game. Like he's been doing, nothing has changed in the late game. He does find a way to weave in the Draconic Thresher with the Twilight Guardian later on if he wants. For now, he's going to be trying to make that Grom as impactful as he can. Dodge the second execute, and suddenly you force a trade with the 6/6, and then suddenly Twilight Guardian and Draconic Thresher are a tiny bit better.
Yeah, well, the response here from Xixo, most likely just going to be slamming down the Cthulhu.
Sure.
Eating that Grom and going face.
I mean, you are dealing a total of 27 damage, between your 24 damage with your 2 minions, putting your opponent on 3 guaranteed, so yeah.
Good luck staying alive through that.
Staying alive.
Not today.
I mean, Xieshuai is staring down the barrel of Xixo's. I mean, it's kind of interesting to notice how Dragon Warrior doesn't line up very well against just control in general from the other warrior decks, because they have so much removal. Like your point is to get those high health minions to stick on the board, but the core of warrior removal really is just removing high health minions. You got shield block, shield slam. In that deck, Ancient Shield Bearer, Shield Slam, Execute, they can take out anything if you got like a 6 health Twilight Guardian. Because over tempo, usually I think Dragon Warrior is trying to aim for a bit more aggression in the early game.
Yeah, definitely. And the whole deck's focused around super aggression in the early game. And generally speaking, the greedier lists of Cthulhu Warrior, can't really deal with it as well.
Yeah.
They don't have the Doomsayers. They don't have those kind of early tech cards. They don't have bashes in them or things like that. And if you look at like the Control Warriors, just standard Control Warrior is actually pretty good against the Dragon Warrior because of Bash holding so much early help, being able to kill those 3 health minions.
Alexstrada's Champion, lots of really good targets. Furry Dragon's kind of an in-between where you have to try to find a way to line it up with Armorsmith and Ravaging Ghoul and something like that, but it usually works out. Either way, all that to say, Dragon Warrior's not exactly at its best against the control decks, especially like this one. Yeah,
not its best against anti-aggro control decks, especially. Yeah. So Xixo's tech's paying off for him there, able to get him a nice win. He's caught back up in the series, 1-1. Still anybody's game going forward. And we're going to see what they're going to be queuing up next.
I want to see some Druid action there. The Yogg-Saron Druid versus the Cthulhu Druid would be really cool to see, because Xixo's Druid is kind of standard Yogg. The matchup.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, wow, there we go.
Hey, you called it. I would say that the Yogg Druid has a big edge. We saw actually in the previous series Xieshuai able to win with his Cthulhu Druid over Nyman's Yogg Druid, but I say that most of the time, if the Yogg Druid's able to make any sort of tokening play, Druid kind of struggles against dealing with tokens. They have Swipe, but if they're 2/2 tokens, Druid needs a Spell Power Swipe, otherwise they're screwed. Or 2 swipes, I guess.
Yeah, why not? You just kind of stagger them over 2 turns, hit the first one on the Violet Teacher, and then face with the second one to clean it up. Now, one of the cool things is, I was going to say, looks like a repeat of the previous game where you innervate, coin, Druid of the Claw.
Okay.
Very often. That's what he did last game against against Nyman's Druid. But this time around, Xixo has his own board presence. It's not very good against a 4/6, but it's something.
Yeah, he's got the ability to innervate out the Violet Teacher if he wants, but he's going to be relying off the top deck to really find some action with the Teacher. Otherwise, he's going to be Hero Power passing on 3, so...
Innervate Nourish on turn 3?
That would be good if you hit the second Innervate, but the odds are not very likely that he finds the second Innervate, but I do like playing the Teacher out first, getting the initiative on the board, scaring your opponent at least. They're probably going to be afraid to develop. They want to be... trying to remove the Teacher, so... Yeah,
one of the things this does, too, like you mentioned being scared, is that if you play Druid of the Claw, suddenly Wrath or Living Roots plus Hero Power is super scary. And then Power of the Wild hits, suddenly your swipe holds no value. So if you play too quick and surrender your Innervate for very limited amount of tempo gain, it's the scare that makes it so Xieshuai doesn't want to commit to this.
Yeah, I imagine we see him just lay out the Druid of the Claw here. And we could potentially see him go for other options as well as like swipe and innervate and just kill the teacher out of fear.
The Nourish on the turn 5, or play the Druid of the Claw, which is fine too.
So I think those are really the two plays here. It's either like, kill the teacher, which I think is kind of overreacting to it. You didn't see a spell last turn, or develop the Druid of the Claw. I don't think the Nourishing here is that fantastic, but...
Yeah, I mean, it gives you the ability to get more mana, but I mean, those Twin Amps are dead. They're not they're not enabled yet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a repeat of what happened last game with Xieshuai. I mean, he had the Twin Amps, and they were never active. Didn't matter too much as the opponent was running out of steam. So Xixo is going to have to deal with this. He does have, like, some kind of answer.
Yeah, you could swipe here and kill it, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the word.
Yeah,
do you just try to get additional tokens with the Mire Keeper and then set up a Nourish on 5, or do you try to ramp to that Ancient of War a bit quicker, or set up a swipe hero power as well if you do ramp up for the extra crystal?
I like going for the ramp for the extra crystal.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit better than the swipe.
I mean, it sets up the swipe hero power on 6, which is a really big deal. And Xieshuai still must deal with the board.
Well, he doesn't have to. He could always Nourish for cards, ignore the board, and just kind of
double swipe.
Wait for the double swipe opportunity, yeah.
Sure. I mean, it can happen as early as next turn with the Innervate play, cleaning up not only the teacher, but everything else.
He can also completely clear the board this turn with a swipe if he wants to.
Right. That's kind of the thing,
he
though.
He could Nourish for mana and kill the entire board with a swipe this turn, with the Innervate swipe.
Sure. And so you end up getting the... yeah, I actually don't mind this. We're just hero power down the teacher.
Or hero power down the teacher, sure. Yeah, hold on to the Innervate for some additional options. You still have double swipe available. And double swipe is crazy strong against Yogg Druid.
Yeah.
Just absolutely insane. Because their whole deck focuses around trying to make tokens, right? And double swipe shuts down those tokens.
Yeah, I mean, Xixo hasn't seen a single Cthulhu-based card, so there's no big fear of something like Twin Emperors coming out next turn or a really quick Cthulhu. Usually it's going to be Dark Arakoa. That's one of the scary cards. So the question of, what he wants to do usually comes down to finding more options. And the card draw is exactly what he wants in order to find maybe a Mulch or some kind of minions to threaten that Dark Arakoa word to come down.
Yeah, not too bad here. He's able to also just clear off the board completely while drawing 3 cards, and that's never a bad turn.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones you'll find, especially you've got the Yogg in hand, you've got Ancient of War on curve, even if you don't need to ramp, which you don't, and then you can protect Vile Teacher, you can protect Emperor Thorson that you just picked up, so everything got a bit better for Xixo, and Xieshuai's got a lot of, kind of like his top end, and none of the mid game that he wants to have as the Cthulhu Druid.
Do you ever think we see him just play Cthulhu as a 6/6 next turn?
I don't think he plays Doomcaller, but sometimes it's a 6/6 and it's with Druid, so
yeah,
it's pretty tough to take care of a 6/6 as a baseline card. Yeah,
it's like he's got to play something, right? It's either Twin Imps plus Living Roots, and you just make the Druid of the Claw for 7 mana, or you just Cthulhu him in the face.
I think you Cthulhu him in the face.
That seems
it's awful, but what?
Seems kind of silly.
I mean, how do you win is the question, because at that point your win condition is basically a bunch of tempo minions that are meant to be used in the mid-game that you haven't found, so you have to beat him down with 4/2s with Divine Shield. He's got a full hand. Does that ever happen?
I guess the hope is that you would find more Cthulhu buffers to buff it on the field. So turn from a 6/6 to an 8/8.
I see.
But I still think maybe Twin Emperor's Living Roots is better. I don't think you ever just pass.
Yeah, you have to play at least 4/6.
You can't surrender the tempo here. You have to at least play Twin Emperors regardless of what you do.
I saw the Cthulhu pop up on the left. It's turn 8, and I saw a 6/6 Cthulhu.
Yeah.
That is bad.
It's never a great feeling. And Xixo has some crazy strong tempo plays here. Or you can just play Ancient of War. He also had the possibility, Emperor Thorson plus Naturalize, but giving your opponent 2 cards, not that great when their hand is super weak. And he knows that Xixuai's hand is super weak because he just played Twin Emperors unactivated, and that was his best play.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that Xixo giving options to his opponent would just make everything worse. At this point, he probably feels like, oh my god, we're going to see this. It's happening.
He went for a minion. That's really interesting. A lot of times players will go for spells in those situations.
This happens. You don't pick up the spell damage on Archmage. It's too consistent. You have to go for the Boogie
Monster, huh? It's a Boulder Fist Ogre.
It's also liable to eat up the Ancient of War. And how does Druid kill a growing minion?
Well, Xixo does have the Naturalize, but that's going to give Xieshuai more resources. But yeah, this is the first time I think I've seen Boogie Monster actually pick in competitive play.
You've got to be kidding me. Oh, man.
But he's not opting to play it this turn, which is interesting. I think
playing it was good.
I would have liked to see him play it this turn over the removal play.
You eat up the Ancient of War on the following turn, and then it grows right away. And
yeah, that's curious to me that he uses swipe there. He breaks up the double swipe potential. I felt like if you're breaking up the double swipe potential and going with the swipe clear, the Archmage would have been a better pick.
Yeah,
then you'll have spell power swipe available to you whenever you need it. So I thought for sure he was just playing the Boogie Monster this turn. I would have liked to see him do that.
Yeah, getting the swipe with spell damage when you're surrendering the first swipe this turn is really what I think would have been done most of the time. And just like that, I mean, you have to kill this Emperor. Because that's a full hand. Well, I think maybe you're scared a little bit because that hand is really big.
That hand is really big.
So even though the second tick, quote unquote, doesn't matter, it still kind of matters.
It matters when the hand's that big for sure.
Yeah.
And you're able to still have a strong turn behind removing it. You get to develop the Dark Arakoa, so...
You buff Cthulhu.
Yeah, not too bad. Just now, Xixuai's AoE removal around, the tokens from Xixo is going to be only...
oh, man.
Only Cthulhu can remove the tokens. So
here we go.
Xixo's going to take advantage of that immediately and just starts flooding the board with lots and lots of tokens, and he's going to buff them all to 2 health.
I mean, you play Wild Growth, get the excess mana. Do you get
You don't get excess
You don't
mana.
get
He's
excess
only
mana.
on
yeah,
9.
That's right. So he's going to go up.
But you can use it to make it 2/2 and not draw a card.
No, I'm not doing that. I'll just take the 2/2 token.
Do you want to... Well, he's not naturalizing, right? Because he's already sunk the swipe into it. So.
Sure. He's used Feral Rage to kill it.
He's got Feral Rage to kill it, yeah.
Yeah, using the Wild Growth here would be really ambitious, given that you don't get the excess.
Yeah, you can use it next turn and get the excess. You got enough 2/2s, right? You don't need... What's another 2/2?
Man, Boogie Monster is actually really good here if it doesn't get mulched, because it eats up the 2/2s one at a time. It takes a lot of time to do it, but...
Look, I don't think he's going to be alive for 12 turns to eat up all the 2/2s of Boogie Monster.
Oh, man. You don't believe?
I don't believe.
Okay. My life sucks.
Well,
there's a Wild Growth, excess mana play, Naturalize can be followed up, and then Yogg for the win, but you don't need to Yogg.
It is an ambitious Yogg. When you're ahead, you generally speaking don't want to Yogg, and he's able to create 2 additional 1/1s here while cycling this Wild Growth.
And even the Wrath could be cycled as well.
Sure, why not?
If he picks up a decent spell off the top. Mulch could be a really good draw here.
Yeah, wouldn't have to use the Naturalize.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, Fangel getting on the board, wow. And Xieshuai doesn't have a way to kill the Fangel for the following turn unless he top decks.
Yeah, it feels like a really dangerous Fangel, but then again, most of the... Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God. So Xixo can now trade in, some of his minions here.
He's got to kill a 2/1. Trade the 2/1 into Cthulhu, then you use the Living Roots.
Well, what are you doing? Your hero power in Cthulhu then?
No, the 2/1 can ram itself in there. It didn't attack yet.
Yeah, but it's got a 5 health, so if you 2/1 and then Living Roots it, you'd have to still trade in the Violet Teacher.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I saw...
Unless you want to hero power it down.
Yeah, my vision's failing me here. The TV's too far away. Screen, I saw 3 for some reason. Didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
Well, that Fandral is...
Those swipes would be nice to have right about now.
Well, he's speaking about the double swipes that were used as spot removal?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and now he's left with it. He's left swipeless with a board that he'd really enjoy swiping. So now the Boogie Monster is going to come out.
And probably get really big, but Xixo's got the answer.
Well, it's not going to get really... It can only get +2/+2 a turn.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you can't
It has
just
to be the one attacking. You can't attack into it and have it grow.
Sure. You
That's
know what
why
they
the
need to
card's just
do?
garbage.
They need to make Giant Sandworm merge with Boogie Monster.
That would be...
A good card.
No.
It would be OP.
No, it wouldn't. But it would be probably more playable.
I mean, you eat up the board. It's like a permanent Wind Fury.
Maybe if it's a beast as well. So it's like a beast, an 8/8, and it's the Boogie Monster and Giant Sandworm together.
Think about it. You play this, and then you attack one minion, and you can kill all the other ones, and this one grows bigger.
Where's the scenario where you play this and don't die?
I play Forbidden Shaping and Priest. I've been healing myself all game.
Okay, so in Priest with Forbidden Shaping is where you want to get your Boogie Monster Sandworm.
I like the scenario where my opponent plays at least Star Seeker, and I play Yogg. I mind games like the Boogie Monster. That's the Giant Sandworm as well. And then...
So your opponent has to be playing the Giant Boogie Monster Sandworm.
No, he has to play Elise and the Golden Monkey.
Okay, sure.
But that being said, I think that would be a great card.
Okay.
You could call it the Giant Boogie Monster.
Giant Boogie Monster Sandworm.
That's a really fancy name, but I like that.
The card sounds garbage, but
the
anyway.
Boogie Worm.
the boogie worm.
Anyway, back to the series at hand. We do have to focus a little bit. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Getting distracted. The Shaman from Xixo, the mid-range Shaman, is one of those decks that we didn't really know what it was until today, as it lined up against his opponent prior to this. I wonder exactly how scared of it Xieshuai is it, like overall. Like I feel his decks don't necessarily line up too well.
He didn't ban it this time. He banned it the previous time, so he's definitely less afraid of it than he is afraid of aggro Shaman. So
that's
he's
true.
Left it open as a possibility. We saw Hoy playing it and have not as much success as he was hoping to have with it. So maybe the list is a little wonky, but who knows?
The deck list is a bit different this time. Xixo is playing the double Azure Drake variant. We saw that a bit earlier, and he's got a Stormcrack sprinkled in there to help him remove some of those important mid-game minions. So we'll see if that works out. We do see the Stormcrack in the hand at the moment.
Stormcrack's great against Frothing Berserker.
I hear that.
Yeah, not so great against, Fairy Dragon, but it's okay. He's got Rockbiter and other tools to clean that one up, so...
Yeah, the thing with it's kind of interesting to see how the Shaman removal evolved over time, right? With Lightning Bolt, Rockbiter Weapon, and Stormcrack, where Lightning Bolt used to be a staple, and now it's kind of undesirable. What a Rockbiter Weapon by Xixo. Alex Trellis champion. He's hoping dies to Stormcrack. Feral Spirit can stop it a little bit. Interesting.
Interesting.
I mean,
interesting indeed, yeah. Finley wasn't hurting anybody.
Wasn't he? I mean, I feel like it wasn't a big deal. Even with Flame Tongue, then you still want to kill Flame Tongue over Finley.
Most of the time. Warrior. Where'd the warrior get Flame Tongue?
I mean, the Shaman has no way to deal with it. Like, how exactly is Finley supposed to be a threat?
I'm not so sure, but it has left a little bit of an awkward situation here by Xixo kind of overreacting that Finley maybe, or,
let's think.
Now he's got no way to deal with this Frothing besides maybe hexing it or just developing into it. And
you have to hex.
So we see the hex come out now. I guess he's not really afraid of the big minions from the Dragon Warrior, so we'll see how it works out, pans out as the game gets going on. We get the Fairy Dragon hidden here for Xieshuai behind the taunt of the hexed Frothing Berserker, so it's pretty invulnerable. And the only thing that really kills it, is Storm or a Battle Cry. It can't be targeted by spells.
I mean, what I was thinking is like, the Finley didn't really threaten too much of anything, because the only time it really deals with any of your minions is if they can't retaliate. So I don't know. I'm a little puzzled by the threat that it represented. Is it so scary that you'd commit a Rockbiter weapon to it?
Xixo just didn't really have great alternative plays, so he just went for it and tried to clear it.
Lightning Storm now would be pretty good.
Wouldn't be bad, that's for sure. But no Lightning Storm there for Xixo. He's overloaded, so he has to play Manatide Totem instead of any of his other options. So he could have either Totemed or dropped Manatide Totem, and he's just dropping Manatide Totem to cycle. His hand is kind of weak right now. Wants to get cycling, and Azure Drake coming down for Xieshuai. He knows it's turn 6, so he's got to prepare around Fire Elemental, and Azure Drake does the job sufficiently enough.
Yeah. It's just good enough, because if you play the Draconic Crusher, you're still trading into that 6-5. I wonder, though, like, is a 6-6 ever just good enough to play on curve because you get the extra hero power on 7? Or does it just not matter much? Like, playing the 6-6 on curve instead of the Drake?
Get the extra hero. I think he wants to save the 6-6 to get a 9-9.
Yeah.
With one hex out of the way, if you're able to get a 9-9, force the second hex, suddenly Ragnaros, Gromash, Malkarak are all free. So it's just kind of really valuing that 9-9, I think. And with the amount of pressure he's putting on Xixo, it seems like he may be getting towards that 9-9 moment pretty soon.
That Stormcrack was really intense, because now we see that if he'd been holding on to the Rockbiter, then the champion died.
Champion
Finley
dies
was
to the
alive.
Rockbiter.
Yeah,
and then the Frothing dies to the Stormcrack, and then you have Hex a little bit later on. I don't think it really would have changed too much, though. As we see here, there's so many mid-rangey creatures that Xieshuai has that are, sticking around, and...
Yeah. One thing to mention as well
is
is
the Hex for right here, though, but
Xieshuai's
matter.
Choice of hero power with the Paladin hero power. It gives him a ton of little enablers for execute. Combining that with the Draconic Crusher pings is also important. The Blood to Iker can also be super helpful when you've got the damage to complement it with. It's pretty interesting to notice just how impactful this usually bad hero power turns out here.
Yeah, Paladin's one of those hero powers that's way better if you're ahead.
Yeah.
So we see Xieshuai got off to a really good start, so the Paladin hero power is pretty sweet. But when you're able to choose where the 1-1s trade, it's pretty sweet. But when you can't choose where the 1-1s trade because you're making 1-1s into their board, they don't accomplish very much. So
Yeah, this is one of the best spots for Xieshuai to be positioned against the Shaman, who's been on the back foot all game.
Yeah.
I feel like
killing them is usually a pretty good position.
Yeah, you win. I mean, I'm just kind of surprised at how this went. I think this entire beatdown from the Dragon Warrior is... I mean, it's usually... I want to say this is kind of a dream scenario, because you rarely see it curved that well.
Really?
With all the double Drake, double Blackwing, Draconite Crusher.
I don't know. That's why it's been perceived as a Tier 1 deck, is just because it has the ability to curve out like this and just wreck people. A lot of people compare it to Secret Paladin in that sort of sense, and it has a really, really, really good win rate against Aggro Shaman and Mid-Range Shaman, and that's kind of what made its rise to popularity so quick, is because the meta was all aggro and mid-range shaman, and then people started busting out the Dragon Warrior on ladder and just dominating, climbing to those high ranks really quickly, having really good win rates against shaman. And
yeah, it's actually interesting how it was double-pronged, because it dealt with... So Temple Warrior dealt with shaman in general, and then Dragon Warrior said, I'm going to come out and beat Temple Warrior and all those decks as well at the same time, kind of.
I would say that Temple Warrior versus Dragon Warrior is pretty close to 50-50.
Okay, because I usually see Dragon Warrior perform a bit
difference
better.
between Temple Warrior and Dragon Warrior is Temple Warrior is a lot better against Zoo than Dragon Warrior is, and Dragon Warrior is a lot better against Shaman than Temple Warrior is. But they're both pretty good against Zoo and Shaman. Like, they're pretty good, just one's better against the Shaman, one's better against the Zoo by a slight margin. So when the meta was all Zoo, Temple Warrior was the deck that came out and shocked everybody, and because the Zoo was all farming the Shamans, and then it became, you know, the Shaman Temple Warrior Zoo meta, and then the Dragon Warrior started coming out as the Shamans were becoming more popular because they were doing all right against Zoo and doing all right against...
just the entire field in general. Yeah, I feel like Dragon Warrior is going to come up as that answer. Now, the Chinese casters there looking pretty focused on the papers. Looks like they're reading deck lists.
Yeah, talking about deck lists and whatnot, so...
Yeah, I mean, do we commentate that, or... all right.
They're looking great. Gotta love the guy on the right's hair.
Yeah, did they do it for you? Out of the park. Are they doing it for you?
No, they're not doing it for me, man.
Okay, I see.
I'm not into it.
I'm sorry, man.
It's
nobody can be. Like, everybody can't be Xieshuai. Right?
Everybody can't be Xieshuai.
Xieshuai is just one of a kind.
He's doing it.
He's doing it for you. I know that much. Now, that being said, we should be moving on to the next game, but something must be going on because it's not up on screen. I'm guessing the players are preparing for the next...
maybe a bathroom break.
That could be it.
Maybe a mid-game celebration, like patting themselves on them. They're doing pretty good so far. No misplays yet. Hooray.
Yeah, the Dragon Warrior really had an explosive opener there. I mean, I expect Dragon Warrior to perform kind of well because, I mean, they've got so many 2-drops that perform just generally speaking.
And speaking of even 2-drops, he hit his 1/1-drop in the entire deck, into his 2-drop, into his 3-drop.
Into his 4-drop.
Missed the 4-drop, though, right?
But played, like, more 2-drops.
But played more 2-drops, which, you know, double 2. He made a hero power 2-drop, which wasn't terrible, but, you know, we can say he missed his 4-drop. So he missed one spot on his curve, then went 5-6.
5-5, 5-5, 5-5, and then win.
Yeah, so it was a pretty good curve overall for the Dragon Warrior player. So now we have the players getting ready here. We have the Shaman remaining for Xieshuai, as well as the Druid.
Yeah, and Xixo still has to win with the Mage, I think.
The Mage, the Temple Mage, which could be a bit tricky. Could be a bit tricky. Temple Mage is, you know, it's all right against Druid, not terrific. I don't know. It's pretty close. I'd say closer to 50-50 than you'd like it to be.
You're supposed to prey on Druid, but I don't think you do it as well as you used to nowadays.
No way. No way.
Especially Cthulhu. They have so many good mid-range minion nowadays.
Well, they have so much great removal as well. A lot of the times your advantage came from hiding behind mirror images with your 3/2s. Now you're gonna get Living Roots. You're gonna get Disciple of Cthulhu. There's a bunch of nasty stuff that can happen to your poor little 3/2s that hide behind mirror images.
Well, Xieshuai does have the Fandral Stag Helm, so if he ever opts to go for Wild Growth on 2, he gets the play of Fandral into Coin Living Roots for a decent board advantage. And then,
not bad.
Yeah, it's usually one of the better timings in the early game. You just need to make sure that nothing goes wrong. So where it goes wrong is when Sorcerer's Apprentice comes out, but that's exactly why that Living Roots becomes even more valuable if you play it on curve after the Wild Growth. Fandral is one of the more powerful legendaries that was printed this set, for sure.
For sure. One of the probably more busted cards in the game, for sure.
Call the Wild, Fandral on the number 2.
Probably, somewhere
Interface
like that.
second, actually.
Well, that didn't get printed in this set.
Sure, in the set then. In the game, though.
In the game, though, for sure, yeah. So, Xieshuai, I like his play here. He had the option to play Living Roots turn 1, but he holds it back, waits for the Fandral Coin Living Roots play, like you said.
Oh my god.
I respect that discipline from him, because overextending against the Mana Worm, trying to like panic and try and kill it by buying Living Roots and then coining out into Disciple of Cthulhu or something like that, is how you lose against Tempo Mage, just overreacting to it, and he's showing some good patience here and setting up a pretty nice board.
Yeah, one of the cool things too is that because the 1/1s are going to be on the board after this, even if the Fandral dies, the Mana Worm will be contested by 1/1s with the Disciple of Cthulhu ping. That's exactly what you're looking to do. And you can use the hero power even.
Yeah, and Xixo can't deal with the Fandral and deal with the roots at the same time. Like, he can't Fireball and also Arcane Missiles. So you know you're going to get a decent little bit of value out of these little guys.
Yeah, so there was Xixo made the decision of trading here, knowing full well that if there's any type of additional removal in the Mana Worm, then the 1/1s live, and then it's even worse for him. He doesn't have Flame Waker to clean them up.
Or missiles.
So, exactly. There's no, good way for him to take him out the board after this.
So Xieshuai could probably get a read there and realize, Xixo probably doesn't have Flame Waker or missiles because he made that trade. Otherwise, he would most likely go face. So he's picking apart the hand a little bit, I guess, and figuring some things out here and there.
I think Xieshuai took a little bit of time here to maybe make Xixo play into some kind of innervate shenanigan, wonder if there is something he could have done with the extra mana. It's one of those mind game moments.
Sure.
Oh, man.
Dark Echo is decent. Cthulhu's Chosen at double trade hero power is not bad either.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more consistent against the potential removal, because if you play the Arakoa and you leave the Drake up, there's not any deck that will abuse that more than Tempo Mage.
Maybe Rogue. But
yeah,
Tempo Mage and Rogue can both abuse it pretty nicely and to take great advantage of the spell power. You see Arcane Blast, double benefits from spell power.
I mean, one of them is in the meta game and the other isn't.
That's true, too, as well. Well, neither deck is really in the meta game.
Yeah, sure. Depending on who plays.
Depending if it's a best of 5 or a best of 7,
Well, it looks like the Disciple of Cthulhu will buff this Cthulhu even further. I mean, Xieshuai's got the Ragnaros. He's got the Swipe plus whatever the hell he wants to be doing on 9. He's got the perfect curve. I mean, Rag on 8, Swipe Disciple, Hero Power on 9, plus Cthulhu on 10.
Hey, Noxious.
Dude.
Is this curve doing it for you?
I think it is. Oh, that is a beautiful curve right there. Xixo's got a little bit of trouble ahead of him. He does have the mirror images to soak up a lot of the Ragnaros hits that could happen, but first of all, he needs to make sure, change of plans.
I think he goes for Rag still. I like Rag.
Okay, sure.
Rag's big and gnarly. You bait out the first little bit of removal to make sure Cthulhu's even more obnoxious and annoying. And this way, if your opponent spams a bunch of small things on the field to avoid Rag hits, then you Cthulhu, and it has a higher % chance of clearing up minions instead of just putting in not very relevant face damage. But he is going to opt to go with Cthulhu
first. This could miss a decent amount of time,
It could set up lethal, actually. That's maybe the argument for it in Xieshuai's favor. Yeah, he's setting up lethal with it. So if it doesn't get impeded by mirror images or get frozen.
That is one of the better draws for Xixo, because he does start wearing down his opponent and his opponent's Cthulhu maybe at some point. If the Flame Strike brings it low enough, that's a lot of missiles coming out. So it could actually go down to 4 health realistically at some point.
Got pretty low there. It's down to 7 health left on that Cthulhu.
It's really not too far off. Really not too far off. But double swipe for the win by Xieshuai right there. When it didn't come up last game when he wanted it because he used them early, now they're just at the very end and they close out the game.
Yeah, that was a pretty quick game against the Tempo Mages there. Cthulhu Druid just coming off to a really great start, doing what Cthulhu Druid does best. Sometimes it hits its curve. And
Fandrals.
And Fandrals, yeah. But you got to attest the early game. He didn't overreact to the Mana Worm.
I like that a lot.
That's really important in that game, and that's what allowed him to get the success there. He saw the Mana Worm, he had the Living Roots, he could have extended into it, would have made him vulnerable to like Arcane Missiles and stuff like that. So he just holds it back, waits on the Fandral, gets his extra value, gets his early game tempo, comes back, and storms the field from there. So I really like the way he played that early game curve, and I think a lot of players oftentimes overreact to Mana Worm because it is such a scary card.
It really is scary, but it also requires a setup, which in this case, the setup that it would have been like the most scary with, or scariest with, would have been one that actually gets completely torn apart by the Fandral Coin Living Roots, because you do kill the Apprentice. I guess the worst case scenario is they just play like Apprentice, Missiles, Mirror Image, and then suddenly the disaster hits. But it's a very heavy commitment hand size-wise, and you're usually good to go after that.
So only the Shaman is remaining for our Chinese player.
Yeah.
He's in a great spot to be able to take this game because, as you know, Shaman is a deck that oftentimes can get a win against literally anything. Even though it's slightly unfavored, I'd say, against Xixo's mid-range Shaman.
I don't know about slightly. It's actually the type of deck that's... the Stormcrack especially adds a ton of flexibility to killing that Totem Golem early on. But yeah, you're right. It's usually going to be a match that Xixo can take out. What about the Tempo Mage versus the Aggro Shaman? That's the kind of... the matchup is going to come down to.
I would rather be the Aggro Shaman. I hear some of the players say it's closer to 50-50, or some of the players even say the Tempo Mage is favored. But I gotta hold true to the Aggro Shaman there and say that it's got a slight edge against Tempo Mage.
Is it an Aggro Shaman from, the Lightning Storm right there?
He's got the Lightning Storm teched in.
Okay.
What is the Lightning Storm over? Because he does. The Lightning Storm's over the second Argent Squire, so he only has one Argent Squire in his deck, and instead
beats Zoo with that, I guess.
Sure.
And
why not?
Xixo with the Squire opener plus the Lightning Bolt. Actually, one of the better ways to handle the Totem Golem. So I was gonna say Xieshuai's starting hand suddenly makes him a huge favorite to win this, but now they both have an AOE in the form of Storm, and they both have the Totem Golem. Except Xieshuai's got his second copy of it, and interesting.
He opens up with just the Tunnel Trog turn 1, which, allows Xixo to develop his Totem Golem first.
Not sure. Again, I feel going back to that turn, why do people play Tunnel Trog first?
Their eyes light up when they see the ability to, buff it by one attack. When they don't really realize that the actual attack buff is pretty irrelevant. I really like doing the Coin Totem Golem over just playing the Tunnel Trog on turn 1 there. So
yeah, Lightning Bolt can actually clean up the first Totem Golem here.
And now your Tunnel Trog just dies for free.
Yeah, one of the things, though, is that, Xieshuai still has a really good follow-up because he can play Argent Horse Rider. So if you overload yourself as Xixo, you do not get to play Think From Below. You do not value trade the Totem Golem, and your 1-1 suddenly loses in value as well.
Okay.
So I like that quite a bit, honestly.
Sure. He's going to get a little bit punished, I guess, by the Lightning Storm.
Quite punished, but
yeah,
it's one of those things.
Yeah, I guess he didn't expect the Lightning Storm, maybe, because... he does know Xixuai is playing the Aggro Shaman, and it's not a typical inclusion.
Yeah, it's one of those information wars where Xieshuai suddenly had the advantage in it. But the overload means that Horse Rider cannot come out alongside the Totem Golem to clean up the 5-5, and all of a sudden Xixo, unoverloaded on his turn 5 with 2 pieces of removal with the Storm, is likely to just clean up anything he wants for the future and can weave that into the Fire Elemental.
Well, I don't think Xixo wants to overload himself on turn 5. Yeah, he's
Never.
waiting for that Fire Elemental. Xieshuai doesn't have many options here. He could have either Totem to play Tunnel Trog or Totem Golem, and Totem Golem's the clear play. Sets up to just, after one of your Totem Golems gets traded down, use the Argent Horse Rider the following turn to clean up the
Do you hex
minion.
this? I imagine you kind of have to against the Aggro Shaman not having any bigger threats than this, and lets you Fire Ellie.
Well, 4-mana 7/7s are a bigger threat than this, but you can assume that they probably don't have one at this point based on the way they've been playing their hands and not staying unoverloaded for, turn 4. So I don't hate it. I think it's a good hex.
I mean, your Fire Elemental would usually be able to contest it. So even if it's a risk, it's a decent
5/2 trades into it with the Fire Elemental, and you
Exactly.
clean up the 4-mana 7/7, yeah.
So it's a good risk to take by Xixo here. So he will get punished a little bit by the Horse Rider. But again, the board is very small.
Well,
He's got the
not
Fire
punished by
Ellie.
Horse
It's not
Rider,
even
yeah.
remotely close to being a problem here. He does get a near full clear. And suddenly, Xieshuai is the one who's got to handle this.
Yeah, Xieshuai is just really on the back foot now. Xixo has completely secured the tempo on the game and still has a Storm in reserve to, continue blowing him out of the water. So I can't imagine Xixo, ever fumbling this game. I think he's going to just be staying ahead for about the remainder of this game.
You say that, but I've seen 4-mana 7/7s come out on the board like this. Like, the Storm has been forced. The Fire Elemental can be traded into if Xieshuai wants to. He actually chooses to go full aggressive.
Yeah, he's
on
Aggro
this.
Shaman. Why do you sound so surprised?
I don't know, man.
After the Fire Elite trades into any of the 2 attack minions, you can bolt it the following turn.
Sure.
If you bolt it this turn, you impede
you end
your
up impeding
development.
your damage output, and you put less minions on board. You play just into Storm even more, but
It's a
how
risk
do
you
play
got to
around
take when
it?
you're behind, right?
How do you play around it? You kind of have to shove and hope that the opponent doesn't call your bluff.
Well, you're only playing into Spell Power Storm, right? Theoretically, they could roll 2 on everything.
Yeah, but I mean, I mean that would be somewhat bad. But even then, you still end up with a 2-1 left over at the end of the day. And they do roll a 2 on one of the walls, but that's not going to be enough. You can use the bolt on the back of this, buffs up the Trog, lets him trade away the Searing Totem, gets a 6/5 to swing at face, and Xieshuai, with no more removal to handle this, is going to have to pray to the old gods, and that is not one of his good cards.
The old gods did not answer his prayers.
Yeah. Happens, man.
Yep.
Just like this. I mean, is there ever a world in which you're able to go double Flame Tongue, bolt the Trog, the Flame Tongue straight into the Fire Alley down to 3, then you bolt again with the draw, and then you can come back? But I don't know. Is there ever... there's no card draw with knowledge in that list, right?
No, there's no card draw. He's playing the things from below list, so it's prioritizes bigger minions than having to include card draw. And
Neyman might have been a little bit better off. If like on the back foot, there's always like a chance you can draw into that runner.
I guess
no chance there.
Yeah, no chance there for him. Yeah, and that's kind of the way you expect that matchup to go. Xixo has been showing a lot of dominance in that matchup with his mid-range Shaman continually being able to just smash aggro Shamans.
I'm not surprised, honestly. It's kind of what it was built to make, to beat that. Is like initially when the expansion came out and Aggro Shaman was all over the place, everybody complained about Aggro Shaman having no counter, but it turns out the best counter at that point to Shaman was mid-range Shaman. You just curve a little bit later and try to do the best. It's actually one of those things now where there are other decks that do it, like Warrior, for instance, but it was usually a dominant thing. Mid-range Shaman was strong.
And now it's 3-3, the Aggro Shaman up against the Tempo Mage.
Let's see if Mana Worm or Tunnel Trog is the better one drop.
There's no clear consensus on like which deck is like absolutely favored. A lot of people tend to say it's pretty close to 50-50 in this matchup. So that's about where I'm at. If I had to give the edge one way or another, I'd tend to favor the aggressive Shaman over the mid-range Shaman. But
Arcane Blast is such a powerful card. Cold Sorcerer Arcane Blast gives you decent removal against even things like the Totem Golem. So you don't rely as much as you used to. It's really gimmicky though.
Yeah, like Tempo Mage requires so many like early game combos to get bored, and Shaman doesn't require combos to get bored. They just have minions that are good.
They just have board.
Yeah, they play their things that are good, and then Tempo Mage is like, yeah, I'm in combo Sorcerer's Apprentice with things, or combo Spell Power with things to compare my minions to yours. So.
Xixo does have a Flame Strike in his list. Like we saw
keeps
RDU.
Water Elemental off the mulligan there. That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah,
it is one of the stronger cards against Doomhammer, but it is not very great in the earlier stages of the game.
God, that hand from Xixo and the top heavy cost there. It doesn't mean he can't do it, but he's going to need to pick up Frostbolts to make this at least a little bit even.
Yeah, he's going to need removal for sure to make it to turn 4, honestly. And he's facing up against the curve of Xieshuai, and the curve is looking pretty good.
So do you ever just go for Mana Worm, Arcane Blast, lower the Trog down to 1, and then ping it? Or because there's no way that there's going to be a 2 overload where the Trog suddenly punishes. You could wait one more turn.
Yeah, what's the point of the Mana Worm being a 2/3? It doesn't really accomplish anything on the board.
Interesting. There we see the no. It's just the Mana Worm being a 2/3 doesn't clear up anything else.
Yeah, it doesn't really help you at all.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything to the board state. It's just having something to force the Shaman to trade. You just give him better Flame Tongue is the problem. All the time. And just like that, actually, the board clear is there for Xixo, so gets to curve into the Water Elemental on the back of this.
You're going to see Mana Worm Frostbolt, the 2/3 it looks like. And
now
the Mana Worm's contesting the Trog and half contesting the Argent Squire, but it's going to get cleaned up pretty efficiently here by Totem plus Abusive Sergeant, just taking her down. And that's going to pave the way for Xieshuai to get that 7/7 down for 4 mana against an empty board from Mage. They don't have great ways to kill it.
Yeah, I was going to say Searing Totem is actually a really big deal too, because it's a bit of extra damage that lets you get, keep something on the board that's more aggressive with that 7/7.
Flame Tank Totem's a pretty solid pickup as well. It's kind of tempting to play the Flame Tank Totem just for this clean trade up. I think I like
agree
it better.
With you. It's I think it's a lot better.
If you clear the board here, I don't think you lose from this position. It's going to be a lot tougher to lose from this position anyway. You got your opponent already down to 19. You have this super threatening board that they have to clear, and any minion they play into this while that Flame Tank Totem's alive gets pretty much killed for free.
Flame Waker would be something you're dreaming of at this stage, but Xixo's only got a really weak Azure Drake, so he's going to opt to kill the Flame Tongue to not take an extra 4 damage on the back of this board, but even then.
And now here comes the Doomhammer or the 7/7. Either is pretty game-ending. So the 7/7 comes down. It can die to Fireball Ping, but that means it takes Xixo's entire turn, and he's taking another 6 damage on the back of that. Xieshuai is already celebrating a little bit.
Oh, Flame Strike's there, but he's going to be long dead. Unless his 3-drop is a miracle card, it's not. It's not a good one. And Xixo will fall down to the might of Xieshuai. He's really happy about his win.
Yeah, I picked him to win the tournament. He's doing pretty good work. He's adjusted his ban after figuring out that Xixo's playing mid-range Shaman, and that really worked out for him, and able to take the series. Xixo's Tempo Mage was the deck that was kind of failing him there, so...
I mean, I hear someone told him about that.
I did tell him about that in practice.
Okay.
Yeah. But he says it's the least bad of the bad decks that he had to bring, so...
I don't know if Rogue was really, like, as bad as that. Or even Hunter. Like, it's okay. You can find room for it instead of Tempo Mage. It's a matter of personal preference, I think,
personal preference and a lot of things.
Yeah.
But things just weren't going his way with that Tempo Mage draw. And one of the questionable things you can talk about that series is, was it right to keep a 4-drop against Aggro Shaman? That's, like, pretty ambitious off-coin, especially. You're only seeing, you know, 3 cards, so keeping that keeping that Water Elemental is pretty expensive. Is that the right mulligan keep? It's good in the matchup, but you need support with it. Does he feel like the matchup's so bad that he has to, you know, risk it and hope he finds the early game while keeping the best mid-game card? Or
I'll say that. I'll say that about the card. It's actually one 6-0 match where he literally kept his opponent frozen all through the game during the series. So with a Doomhammer equipped, where it was played, 2 durability were used, and then the weapon was never used again. So that's kind of one of the reasons he might have considered it. But it's really slow with only 3 cards you're going to see on your opening hand plus a draw. It means you have to god draw removal and your early curve. So yeah, it takes a lot of luck, I think, to get away with this.
It really just depends on, I guess, how he evaluates the matchup, right? If he evaluates he needs to get that lucky, then the mulligan obviously makes sense. But if he thinks the matchup's a bit closer, I think the matchup's a bit closer than what he thinks it is, because I don't think you need to have Water Elemental in the early game, the mid game, to really seal the game out and the god early game curve. I just think you need the early game minions, and you can usually get close to getting 50-50 in the matchup.
Yeah, but one thing for sure, I think Xieshuai's hand was exceptional. He had the
he
double
did
1
have
drop.
the good
and, like,
hand.
let's just be honest here. That was even with
the
good
Flame
hand.
Tongue top deck was huge. That was right on time for sure. Yeah.
So that was a rough one for 6. So that being said, he's not out of this. You know, we mentioned that a bit earlier, but he's going to be facing off against whichever of Dr. Hippie and Neyman ends up going through. So Dr. Hippie and Neyman teammates will be fighting off against one another in the next match. Xixo and Dr. Hippie already faced off against one another earlier today. Xixo took the win, so it's going to be kind of a rematch if Dr. Hippie moves through. Otherwise, Neyman could move up.
Xixo was playing a rematch here just now against Xieshuai and wasn't able to capitalize on the fact that he beat him 2 days ago and actually ended up losing this time around. So maybe Dr. Hippie can do the same thing and get a win, get his revenge on Xixo.
Yeah. Do we have an interview with the our Chinese player before we move to the break? All right, we'll have the interview ready in 15 seconds so you can understand the Chinese interview. I don't know if there's a translator, but otherwise just listen to the words. It's beautiful.
There is a voiceover, I think.
Awesome. That's crazy good.
Crazy good.
Does he do it for you? That win, did it do it for you, Firebet?
It did it for me, man.
I love that.
It was great.
Interview.
要采访一下中国的选手 OMG 的谢帅，他刚刚在胜者组的决赛当中是击败了来自德国的 Xixo， 率先闯进决赛，首先恭喜。那我们简单的来复盘一下，先说第一场对局吧。你是勇敢的祭出了这个自己的中速链，当时就是搏心态想去抓对方的客栈。
You just put your mid-range hunter in the first place.
因为你猎人对方其他3套卡组都是就是平打或者占下风，只有打克苏恩战士感觉上风比较大一点。你当时怎么想的？
I think I just understand what Xixo's mindset, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna use his warrior as he's put it first. So I just get my hunters and win the game. Well, then in the second game, why don't you use your druid against the warrior so you have a better win chance? Well, Xieshuai said like I thought Xixo think he's gonna having the advantage against me. So maybe when he lost his first game, he's gonna overlook the situation again. But I don't think I didn't expect that he's playing warrior again. So Yeah, so well, my mindset is like even I'm playing against a hero, against a warrior, if I can get some top decks, I could still win. So okay, so during all these matches, which one are you most excited about? Should I say like I think I always get the upper hand when I like the way how I draft my decks. What do you think about your shaman plays? Do you think you play perfectly? Should I say the only thing I'm worried about, I actually think it's a mistake, is because that lightning storm. I think that lightning storm lost me the tempo of the game, but I don't think it's a good problem.
这个问题还是要去注意一下，好吧？那现在已经进到了最终的决赛。
Now you enter the finals.
进行的是2场败者组。
There's gonna be like 2 lower bracket matches.
会打一次。那你觉得
First, I think it's a VP Civil War.
还是 Naiman?
Who do you think you're gonna win? Well, I think Naiman gonna beat Dr. Hippie.
OK， 那么如果假设
because Naiman has a better deck.
的决赛里还没有碰过，那你觉得这2位？ 假设是 Naiman 过了 Dr. Hippie 这关，他们俩谁会胜出
？Well, if Naiman wins, let's say what if Naiman face Xixo? Who do you think he's gonna win?
打 Xixo 更有把握。可是你今天不也赢了 Naiman 吗
？I hope I can face with Xixo again. I hope I can beat Xixo again, because I think I lost to Xixo on purpose, so that he can swipe all the other opponents, and if I face him again, I'm gonna win the grand finals.
Dr. Hippie 将会和 Naiman 展开一个兄弟之争，看谁能够胜出。我们一会儿见。